Hi, guys, and welcome to today's episode of the Spiritual Evolution Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea, and I'm super excited about today's guest. Her name is Havva, and she is an amazing UK artist that I am so blessed to have had the opportunity to share a platform with, and I'm so ecstatic about this interview and some things we have lined up down the road. So without further ado, I'm excited for you guys to enjoy this conversation as much as I did.
Well, how did your journey kind of begin, like your healing journey? Little backstory.
Okay, so when did it begin? I think is a great question. You know what? I think the big game changer. So there was two major points in my life. I was sectioned. Um, I was sectioned. So that was a major pinnacle turning point because obviously to get that bad, you would have to be in a very, very bad state. Um, that was the start of everything, but it was always up and down, up and down, up and down. And then from there, it was when I lost my dad. I think that was the person that you see today has come from the depths of the worst of trauma. The turning point
Absolutely.
for me was 2018 when I lost my dad, for sure. It was for the first couple of years, obviously, I was just inconsolable, you know. I still can be like that now, and that's okay. But it made me realize that what I thought was sadness before that was never really sadness. It was me. It was unhealed stuff, and it was my own narrative. It was people that didn't even exist in my life anymore, and I was sad and depressed and suicidal a lot, you know, and it was because of other people. It was because of situations that I could change, and it was people
Yes.
treating me badly and me just not knowing my worth and accepting it. I knew my worth. I was fighting for my worth all the time. I've always been a strong character, but I never really gave it to myself. I was waiting for other people to give it
For
to
other
me.
people.
Yeah. So
100%. Yes.
obviously, people were not going to give it to me. So then I was questioning my own worth. And the more that they treated me badly, the more bad I felt about myself. And then you're a reflection of your surroundings. If you're in a bad, shitty relationship, that guy is going to make you feel like you are worthless, and you are going to believe it because this person is supposed to love you. And if they make you feel like that, it must be true. And you know how it is.
Yes. And the
So,
universe reflects our energy for sure.
of course, of
And
course.
it's
So
yes, and it's hard to navigate sometimes and finding the balance. But what were you gonna say?
because you trust the people that you love. So when they treat you badly, it takes almost a year to even understand that they're treating you badly as a reflection of themselves, not as a reflection of you. Because you love them, you want to be better for them. But if they're a narcissist or just or parents that are treating you and speaking to you badly and things like that, these are people that you put your trust into. You put your mind in their hands. So yeah, you believe it, and you fall into it, and you believe it, and it's a very hard thing to get out of, you know.
Yes, and we're conditioned to believe that it's, like from when we're little, we're conditioned to believe that like we have to behave a certain way, gender roles and all of those other things. And
Yeah.
so sometimes it's hard to find like to see that it's not there's nothing wrong with me. It's what I mean? So
Yeah, especially if it comes from. I had a very bad childhood, so there was, and I think my generation had a very bad childhood. I don't know if you see. I think there were no boundaries. There was no
mhm.
respect or
Communication.
yeah, there was nothing. There was honestly nothing. So
Yeah.
I had to teach myself so many things. I left home when I was 16. So just to make sure that the generation of whatever was going on changed and stopped, you know,
Mhm.
I saw it as my purpose. I saw it as the thing that I needed to do, and I did, and it stopped across the board. But it cost me many, many years of my life, but it was so worth it, you know. And I had to work really hard with my parents for more than 10 years to establish a new set of ground rules and a new relationship and a respect of them towards me and of me towards them. Obviously, there was a lot of hatred from me towards them too, you know. So
Mhm.
but I wanted my family. I was on the run and on the streets for years.
Me too. We have very similar. Like I was trying to emancipate myself at 16, and I, got with my boyfriend that I was, now it was a very toxic relationship. I have a son by him that's 2 now, and I'm a single mom now, and everything's much better now. But when we were together, I was never home, and I basically moved out at about 17, 18, and had to we like never had we never were on a lease. We were always couch surfing, and so I know what you mean by like you have to go through the depths of like that rock bottom, and it's different for everybody. Everyone has a different breaking point. But when people see like that you can come out of it, I think that's really where it's important to share your story, like to see the other side of it, because I was very lost and I didn't think there was a way out until I saw other people that got out.
I didn't either. And when I lost my dad, I thought, this is how I'm gonna die. This pain is gonna kill me. And then my now ex at that time made me tell, during the first 6 months of me losing him, it was the worst ever things that he could have said and done to me. And I honestly thought I wasn't gonna get through it. And I promised myself. It took about 3 or 4 months of laying in bed and not doing anything. I just didn't do anything. I just laid there. Days would turn to night, and night would turn to days, and I barely even could force myself to shower. Like it was heart wrenching, and I would just lay, and it got worse when the tears stopped. People think that it's the worst when you're inconsolably screaming into a pillow, and it's not. When the silence comes, that's when the pain has sunk too deep. And I think I just worked with myself. I just worked with my inner narrative, and I worked with whatever I had to try and make sure that he didn't die with me, to make sure that that I kept him alive my dad was the happiest man in the world. Like he just even when I say that, I smile every single time I say it, because he genuinely was. All he did was laugh. All he did was make jokes. He infuriate my mum. All he did was out of everything. And I have his spirit. I've always had his spirit. So I then just felt, and I went through his death alone. Like I lost friends, I lost family, everything, left, right, and center. People abandoned me at times when I really never expected them to. And I'm a person I've always had elements of who I am now within me. So I've always been there for people. I've always been the person that people come to for stuff. And just because I couldn't be that girl for everyone, people abandoned me left, right, and center. Nobody wanted to deal with my sadness. Nobody wanted to deal with the fact that I just couldn't go out. I couldn't function. I was a shell. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. And I think I just got to a point where I just thought, you know what? I will never allow his memory to die, ever. So every time people see me or hear me talk, that is a projection of the pain and the grief that I carry of him. So I just wanted to make sure that I spent the rest of my life making sure that he didn't die. And I shared my story 1 or 2 times, not just a story about him, but I just started talking. I just started talking about things that I've been through, and I just started doing it poetically and doing it in versions of spoken word. And TikTok changed my life, man. I never expected so many people to relate and respond in the way that they did. And I don't earn any money from TikTok. I'm not even on the creator fund. It's something that feeds and it pays my soul. There is nothing else in the world that actually pays my soul. That's the way I make. The monetary value is priceless. So I do it because people rely on me. People actually message me all the time, like, you saved my life. Like with this video, I had my note written. I was about to do this, and for some reason, I've come onto TikTok. I can't even explain to you how many messages I get. And that for me is just like, you don't know when God puts certain responsibilities on your shoulders. I didn't know I kind of always knew, but I didn't really know, if that makes sense. And I didn't know when it would come. and it came, and it's bigger than I thought, and I want it to be bigger. I want a platform where I can talk to the whole world, and stop people from feeling like there is no way out.
100%. Yes. And I actually had that in here about like sharing your story and overcoming like the fears of it and everything like that, because like I've met so many beautiful people through TikTok in the last couple of years, like, and I'm so eternally grateful for it, because like it's changed my life too. And I also wanted to say something about, because I lost like my best friend in the whole world. My first tattoo I ever got was for her. She's like a sister to me, and I still I have a little altar for her and everything. So like she started coming through a lot, like with her name showing up and stuff like that, because I do like mediumship work and stuff, so I talk to her all the time now. But one thing that came through, I think it was on a podcast, about when you lose somebody, how being in a state of like remembering the good times and the happy times and like the love that you guys shared, it brings you to like like it kind of raises your energy to a place where they can communicate easier to you, like send you synchronicities or like animals or whatever it is, like little winks from them, not necessarily like, she used to come to me in my dreams a lot, like when I first, got sober. I'm over 3 years sober now. So like I've been through my own share of a lot of crap and in recovery. And I also have like realized that like being in a state of like I miss you so much. She's like, don't miss me, love me. Like, or like, yes, it's okay to miss me, but like when you're in a sadness, like it's harder to get out of it and get to that place of like remembering the good, the good. And so I think that's a really great way to keep them with you and keep their energy alive. So, and you said that, like that popped in my mind immediately. So yeah.
It's so hard. I think the times when I'm worst with grief is when I feel like they're completely gone, and that death is very hard to continue to believe in something that you can't see. So we have no guarantee of what happens after death. So it's when I think he's just died, he's just been buried, and that's it.
Right.
Then I can't handle the way that I feel, because it gives me no meaning to anything in this world. Then that whole remember them and love them, and you can't talk to me.
Yes.
I'm not even afraid to say that. I'm not going to sit here and act like I am 100% positive all the time. I have great energy and I am very positive. But there are days when I don't want anything in this world anymore, because I can't have the one person that I wanted to share with. I come for the World Cup. I'm here to work at the World Cup. When I tell you I cried for literally 2 months before I come, because I'm so proud and I'm so happy, but I can't tell the one person that I want to tell it to. So it's like you have this stopper on everything enjoyable and everything happy in life, because you get really happy and you get ecstatic, and then you're like, oh yeah, I can't share it with him. So it's so hard. It's the one thing in this world that there is no answer to is grief, and is death. It's a very difficult thing to handle. If you have the ability to take your pain and turn it into something that is power, or something that is in a healing way for other people, I don't think there is more purpose that God could have given than to do something like that.
Of that, that's it's huge magnitude, like you said, with like the messages. Hold on, I'm gonna shut my window because I live on a busy road. Okay. But actually, one of my next questions, like the very next question, was about how you remind yourself of, like of your self-worth, of all of your purpose, all of the good that you've done on those low energy days, because I get them too. I think we all get them, even if it's very much not talked about. But I think the more we talk about it, the more people will understand that it's not as uncommon as or taboo as like we've been conditioned to believe.
Yeah.
So
first of all, I changed my circle. That was a big key for me. You are a product of your surroundings. I could say it a million times. You are a product of your surroundings. If you are around shitty people, you will feel shitty. It's as simple as that.
absolutely.
So I realized that I had an environment that was reflective of the way that I felt about myself, and that I was accepting certain things from people that I actually shouldn't have. Life is too short. Life is too short, completely. And that goes for family, friends, anyone. Second of all, it's kind of, you know what? It's very funny to ask me this question. For me to say it out loud now, it gives me affirmation for myself. It kind of is, I don't have to try now. I don't have to try to think about how much I've contributed to my family, how much I've contributed to community. My inner narrative is actually quite positive now. There are certain things that I have self-doubt about and stuff like that, and I'll give myself 24 hours. You can cry, you can be a sad bitch, but tomorrow you're gonna be a bad bitch. It's as
Oh,
simple as
yes. Absolutely.
that. I don't punish myself for the way that I've still got a very hurt inner child. She still
Yeah.
needs to cry every now and then. I cry all the time. Like, I'm a very
Me
emotional.
too. Lately,
Very
it's like I shut it down for so long, and now it's like the floodgates have opened and I'm crying at everything.
all the time. Everyone calls me a crybaby. They're like, how can you be as strong as you are and all you do is cry? And I'm like, no, because I cry because I'm strong. That's
I was
why.
just gonna say that's what strength is, being able to feel your emotions. That's how you transmute that shit into strength.
Yeah. And it's just, with practice makes perfect. That saying is very, very true. I have practiced and practiced and practiced. I went one step forward, 10 steps back so many times. I'd have 1 week of being really feeling good and feeling positive about myself, and then 3 weeks of absolute self destruction. This is as many years as you have spent speaking to yourself in the most derogatory manner and putting yourself down.
Right.
Those things, you're going to have to put that amount of effort in to get to be a person that is self-loving and self-worth, and it's not, nothing is consistent in this world. I will still have a day where I wake up and I think I haven't achieved anything. I hate this and I hate that, and I'm this and I'm that, and I'll probably stay at home that day and I won't speak to anyone, and I'll probably still make TikToks. That's when I cry and I make a TikTok, because I'm telling
Mm.
you, I'm listening to myself, and I know that if I am, then other people are. There was a TikTok that I made, actually, literally, it was exactly this. And I said, I wish somebody had told you. I wish somebody had told you how amazing and how beautiful you are when you were young enough to understand it and take it in. Not now, later on in life, when it is a fight to get you to even believe it. And
Oh,
I've had it with my friends. And because I was so used to being abandoned when I was a kid, I didn't have it in me to believe it doesn't matter what this argument is about, he actually loves and cares about me. I felt like it's another one that doesn't care about me. It's another one that is because of me. And I thought,
mm,
this is because I was never taught when I was young that a solid ground base of, you are important, you matter, you don't let people treat you badly, you are actually a beautiful human being, no matter what you look like. I've never had that foundation. So
mm.
in case they're about to push me away, I'll push them first. And that just comes from that wanting to protect myself. And sometimes you can really hurt people that you care about, because
Right.
you're so ready to make that first push just in case they're about to
Mm.
hurt.
Yes, especially when there's like things they do that remind you, even though it's not anything that they're meaning to do, but they reminds you. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's like not even their fault, but like it feels like they're doing something like that is, like it's triggering. And so it's like that's also healing if you can talk about it and stuff, which obviously like you inspire so many people with like just the way that you express yourself with the spoken word is so just I find it's so beautiful. It's like it's
Thank
amazing.
you.
Um Cause yeah, I'm working on a book like of my own, and I'm not a poet or anything, but like I did want to ask you about writer's block. Do you ever experience that, and like kind of where you draw your inspiration from? Yeah.
Yeah, carry on. I can hear you. But
So I was just thinking, like, so have you experienced like writer's block before, and like kind of how you deal with it? We can start with that one.
I didn't write or didn't. I refused to sing for a year and a half after I lost my dad, because I felt like I hadn't achieved enough in my career. When I was young, he didn't really want me to be a singer. He didn't want me to do all the creative side. We come from a traditional Turkish family, study, go get a job in an office. Like that's
Mhm.
you know, yeah, be a doctor, be a teacher, be a nurse. All these things, they're the things that matter. The
Mhm.
creativity in me was never accepted. So when he died and I realized that I hadn't achieved everything about me was trying to prove to him that I was talented, and
Mhm.
I didn't achieve hardly anything before he passed in my eyes. So I resented my whole talent. I didn't write, I didn't sing, I would refuse to sing. I didn't use my voice in any way, shape, or form for a year and a half because I felt stupid. I felt like it was a stupid dream, and I felt like I failed him and I failed myself. And in that time, I couldn't have written a word if you asked me to. There was nothing.
Yeah.
Whole creative channel, I shut it down.
Yeah.
And it's not, I've definitely had writer's block for periods of time before that, probably more so because of depression. Sometimes depression affects people where they write more because of how depressed they are. There's definitely been all depression is different. Different
Mhm.
times in different types of depression, and it depends on what the triggers are, what it's connected to, as to the way that it will embody itself within you. So,
Right. And how you move through it.
yeah, when I was depressed, I had one bout of depression. It was quite a few years. That was my most creative period of time. All I did was write. All I did was write. When I got older,
Mhm.
it's like a block. I've got nothing in my brain. It's like a silence thing.
Mhm. Yes.
I did experience that, and I felt soulless. I felt empty, and I was grieving on top of it. I just felt like every day I was ready to go. I never would have committed suicide after that. After I lost my dad, it was never a thing. It was never a thought because I didn't realize how final death really was, and I watched and witnessed firsthand how much it absolutely destroyed my family. We fell
Mhm.
apart. Like it was horrible to watch. And obviously, you don't think about that side of things. So when I witnessed it firsthand, I was like, wow. I would never entertain that thought again ever in my life because I would
Mhm.
do that to anyone by choice. That's
Right.
just personally. Um, and I went for an audition. I thought, you know what? Let me just try it. It was a cruise ship season. This is a year and a half later, and all my friends were
Mhm.
talking about auditioning for a cruise ship. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? I was so interested. And I went for the audition. I thought, let me try it. They're going to say no. I haven't used my voice for a year. They're definitely going to say no. And they said, yeah, on the spot, like on the day, on the spot. I said, what is it going to take for us to get you to come and be on the ship? I asked for more money. I tested everything. I asked for more money. I asked for this, I asked for that. And I got it all. And all next thing you know, 3 months later, I'd left the country. I was in America. So
Wow.
you cannot escape your purpose. You can't. It doesn't matter. And that's not even, forget physically, at night, just before you go to bed, it will be the last thing that you think about, and you can't escape it in here. Even if you're living your whole entire life with, I don't know, in some city block, in some corporate career, and you're supposed to be an artist, you'll be drawing on your pad throughout your day. Do you know what I mean? Like it will,
Yes.
it doesn't leave you. I
Yeah.
for that. God has, you are born with your talent. There are certain things that happen throughout your childhood that make you probably be scared to follow it as fearlessly as you should. Society, school, education, family, friends, all these things. You get distracted, you get deterred, you get scared, you get nervous.
Mhm.
But you know your talent when you're 2 years old. You know what it is. And only about 20% of us actually go through and go, you know what, no one believes in me, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to believe in myself. So
Yeah.
you have to shut everything down. And there's also the question of, do you actually want the thing that you think that you want? Do you know what I mean? I,
Uh-huh.
I thought that I wanted so many things when I was a kid, and I thought that the music industry was everything that I ever wanted. When I grew up and I actually got into it and I realized what it could be like, I was like, I don't know if my heart's too soft for this industry. It will destroy
Mhm.
me. But it's very normal to go through. I've rejected my talent many times. It's very normal to go through a period of time like that. We own our creativity, but it doesn't really belong to us, if that makes sense. We own it,
Yes.
but it
It's
doesn't
like a
really.
higher expression of ourselves getting into that flow state, and it's an expression of our soul is what I've said before. So, and I think like you said, your inner, like your intuition's always been there since you were a kid. And that's why inner child healing is so important. And, a lot of people in the spiritual community talk about, your inner child having the answers to where it is like your passion is going to be best, suited for. And I think that the world has like been evolving a lot quicker now, like in the last 10 to 20 years, like in the conscious realm, like consciousness, and like people are starting to go after their dreams regardless of what anyone thinks or says. And it's huge because I think it's creating a movement, and like people are really starting to believe in themselves and each other. Um, and I think that that's going to be really, like, really big. I wanted to ask, where you get your inspiration from. If like obviously like your life story is huge for your inspiration, but is there any like icons that you looked up to growing up or anything like that that you'd want to share?
Looked up to growing up was always the greats. It was the Whitney Houstons and the Michael Jacksons. Michael Jackson was definitely a huge, huge role model for me. And
Mm.
I'm going to say too as well that may not make sense, but Martin Luther King was a huge role model for me. Purely
I
because,
actually did a speech for like I read Martin Luther King's speech in grade school for
yeah,
they were really
that's
funny. Yeah.
inspiration. Muhammad Ali as well, one of my all-time biggest. It's the running theme is being a person that is not accepted in a society and going against it and almost dying for what you believed and what you loved. And I found the passion in those individuals to follow blindly and to lead the world into a place where they rejected them at first and hated them at first. For them to love and be so humble and be so compassionate that they took the world's hate and turned it into love, you know,
Mhm.
especially Michael Jackson, especially Michael Jackson. He was a person that had to fight the world to calm them down, to listen to his message. And he
Mhm.
did being shot at the same time, and he didn't stop or judge anyone for the way that they treated him. He just carried on. He carried on till
Mhm.
and they all did. They carried on till they killed him. And
Mhm.
it's such a beautiful thing to have such a heart, to have so much hate and so much pain, and still carry on trying to spread a loving message, you know.
Mhm.
For a world
Yes.
that sometimes doesn't deserve it, I think is the biggest thing.
Right. And I think that can like drive that passion inside of people like us that are gonna be, there's always gonna be people saying that you can't do it or that you shouldn't do it or making, you know what I mean? There's always gonna be haters. But I think that seeing how you said the greats, like they weren't loved by you're not going to be loved by everybody, and people that that you were close with before might not be your friends for as long as you think they're going to be, because true colors come out, unfortunately. As you go through, like when I went through my awakening in the last, well, like I had a really rough one when I was younger, but like when I had my son and I got pregnant, I really stopped talking to mostly everybody, you know, because it's like I wasn't surrounded by really, like you said, my environment, it wasn't the healthiest. And so I had to kind of go in like hermit mode. And now I have a couple of really close friends that I can genuinely trust, you know? So I think that it's important to like not be that, like, to, it was hard for me, but like to stop being a people pleaser and wanting to make everybody happy and worrying about making myself happy and genuinely fulfilled and like not caring what other people have to say about it. Um, oh, this was a good question. How did you take back your power from unhealthy and toxic people, places, things, relationships? What is like kind of like your story on that?
You know what? This is going to sound so simple, but I just decided it one day. That was it. My pain gave me my power. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to evolve so much that the next time you see me, you are going to go, damn, I do. I lost her. And because because I had my heart broken when at a time where I was grieving, so I couldn't be the version of myself that I obviously wanted to be. Then that made me go, you know what? You have nobody, I didn't give anybody access to me anymore for quite some time because people mistreated me when I was at my worst. So you don't want me when I'm at my worst. And then you're going to see me glowing. I promised myself. I thought, no, I'm going to glow. That's it. I'm done. It was just a promise that I made myself. And you know what? I don't let myself down. I'm not a person that if I say I'm going to do something, I'll do it. That's it. So, and that it made me feel so powerful knowing that these people will come back around. Karma says it's so. Karma says it's so. That's it. Knowing that these people will come back around and say, wow, look at you, you're doing amazing, you're doing this, you're doing that. Oh my God, you work here. Can I get tickets for this? Can I get access for that? Can I? And all of a sudden you become the person that everybody wants everything from. And you know what the answer is? No. No, you can't.
Right.
You can't get anything from me. You have no access to me. That's it. And I almost knew that it was going to happen. And I worked and I worked and I worked, and it just started to happen. And it made me feel even more powerful watching it happen. I just thought, wow, this is actually how the universe works. This is it. And the more you work on yourself, the more, unfortunately, the more people want from you. Sometimes people can just be takers. You're a giver. You have to be very careful if you surround yourself with takers, because takers don't give you nothing. So,
Yes.
but I believe in myself. I know I'm a person that even if I get the most hurt, I will replenish my energy. The energy comes from me. It's my source.
Right.
It's something that if you own it, it's yours. So
Mhm.
I have to have blind faith. I do. I hurt deeply when people mistreat me. I get if someone betrays me with something, I will go for days crying. But eventually, I will always come back to, you know what, you probably needed it. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
Oh
I'll
my
make more.
gosh, yes. Yes, I've been in situations like that time and time again, and in situations where like I was always the giver, and then when I couldn't, they would just take it and then leave me with nothing when I wasn't looking. So, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. Um, so I have a few more questions I want to get to. So, what are your thoughts on the education system and how unevolved it is still?
Well, the education system was created to develop workers. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It was. There is no mental health. There is a little bit now, but it's still not really to the extent of what we need. It doesn't incorporate
Mm-mm.
in the last 10, 15 years of the world. If it was down to me, I would review the whole thing. I
Yeah,
would change the whole curriculum. We learn about things that we don't need to know about anymore. I don't remember the last time I used Pythagoras' theorem. I've got no idea. So, um,
exactly. There's so many things, yes, that
and
it's
human beings have evolved as well. Our minds are not the same. We used to just be getting ready for war. You know what I mean? That women had this role, men had this role, and that was it. And it's not like that anymore. We even have more than just women and men. We have genders now. We have
Right.
more types of sex now. We have more types. We have so many different things. We've evolved in so many different ways, and men and women are not the same, and our minds are not the same. We work different. We're much more emotional beings. The whole thing is reviewed. Is rubbish. It doesn't teach us any life skills. Like, it's just rubbish. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm 100% there, and I think that the self-education system is like starting to blow up for that reason, because a lot of people are like me, for instance. I'm teaching myself, and obviously I've learned a lot about like addiction and recovery since I've been through it, and I'm creating my own course on like healing unhealthy, habits and coping mechanisms from, phones and technology to alcohol and stuff like. So I'm going to be kind of, and like relationships, like there's so much with that. And I think that there needs to definitely be a paradigm shift in the way that the system is, because it's like things happen very slowly, and after, and like, like you said, like it's been a little bit, but like they're only going to do as much as we kind of advocate for them to do until it's, or unless it can get like completely reviewed and reestablished, which hopefully that will happen in the near future. Because I have a 2-year-old, so um but yeah, so I wanted to ask about that and the stigma around mental health labels and how we can break it. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think there is so much stigma anymore. I actually wish I'm glad that I didn't grow up in this generation, but in some ways
Mhm.
I did, only in a mental health perspective, because I just feel like it's so much more accepted now. And people talk about what tablets they're taking now. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like a
Mhm.
conversation. And when I was growing up and I got diagnosed with BPD, nobody knew what that was. And I didn't know what it was. So I wasn't allowed to speak about it because it was like you don't have anything kind of thing, kind of era,
Yeah.
or about they're so stupid kind of era. So, and even the doctors, not education system, even the medical system didn't really know what to do and how to treat it. So much more evolved now, like, and it's so much more accepted, and it's so much more openly spoken about. It was a secret with me, so I had to deal with it on my own. I wasn't really allowed to take medication for anything. It was like and that came from my cultural background. Like, we weren't, and very much so actually. Many of my Asian and Indian friends, they were not allowed to speak about anything to do with themselves. Still in that culture, I think is very difficult now. Still in Turkish culture is very difficult now. Um,
It was like
it's
that for me growing up. We didn't go to any kind of like therapy or anything. Even when I was like, I know I have ADHD, like they didn't want to, it was very overlooked, and
shut down. It's just like, oh, just shut up about it, And
yeah,
you know
hush,
what?
hush, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a problem with my dad as well. And this is the reason why I do all the spoken word that I do for men, because I truly believe that my dad, if he spoke about what he was feeling, maybe we would have been able to tell the signs better about him having a heart attack. I 100% believe that he knew. I do believe that he had signs that he just didn't. He just brushed it off. He
That's
brushed it
how
off.
my dad is.
Yeah, never wanted to go to the doctors, never wanted to talk about any medical thing, didn't want to take insulin, didn't want this, didn't want that. He thought
Yeah,
he was super, and that because
yeah,
he was conditioned to be like that. He was
right.
not about his feelings or his mind or anything like that growing up. That comes from generation to generation. So obviously he's a 62-year-old man that's feeling things that he's not going to talk about. He was the most stubborn man in the world, and for me to even think day to day that maybe I could have saved his life if he did speak, and we know as a fact that suicide is so much higher in men than it is in women. If they spoke, if somebody, imagine the difference that you would make to somebody if they chose to speak about something. So I think I'm happy with the way that the mental health stigma has changed, because I don't think it's anywhere near as bad as it was. It's very much more accepted. I guess I feel like I look at it from a positive perspective. You guys are lucky. You're actually very
Yeah.
lucky, because I didn't get that. I wish I
No.
get it. So as long as we're aware of it, and as long as we're passing it down, like I'm very vigilant with my little sister. There's 12 years between us. So I'm always on the ball with her, and I've always given her that room to speak about anything, to speak about whatever it may be. She has bipolar. We've had her on medication at times in her life and off medication. It just makes so much of a difference. She's off medication because she could talk about it and she could deal with it in ways with her family, with her people.
Yes, when you there's a lot of different, like, and everyone's different, whether it's like for me, like music and like taking a walk outside is very therapeutic for me, breath work, artwork, stuff like that. I think that medication can be a good place to like get like baseline again, but I think that you don't need to, no, I don't know, everyone's different, everyone has a different chemical balance in their brain. So I think everyone has different levels.
I have backlash. I said this at one point on one of my TikToks, and I'm only basing it on myself, obviously. I refused it. I remember I went to the doctor's one day, and the doctor said to me, Havva, you have a condition, the way that you are, you will never be happy without tablets. And when I tell you I was on the brink of, I'm going to end my life, you need to help me. I was actually sitting there, bawling my eyes out, saying, help me, you need to help me. And you know what? He said those, you know what? He did help me. Actually, he did help me. Because when he said that to me, I just looked at him and I went, sorry, what? Like, the fact that he even said to me that I would never be able to live without me made me so mad. I was so angry. I need to be a person that works really well off anger. So I was like, you know what? F you. I'm going to do this on my own. I'll show you. You don't ever say that to a person. You don't ever. All he did was make me lose hope. If you said that to the wrong person, they would have left that doctor's surgery that day. They would have just ended it. That's it.
Right.
It was a very insensitive thing to say, and it made me so angry. And I thought about all the people that could have heard that, and I just thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to show you. And then I never took them. I never refused it. I would rather feel everything too much than nothing at all, I guess. And
Yes,
it
I understand that because I've been on like medication for a few years now and I'm tapering off of one medication, but the other one, like, I am switching doctors and I went to one doctor and I was like my primary, and I was gonna ask if she could do like a bridge script for between my doctor, whatever. And she was like so rude about it and said that I was at more risk for relapse if she gave me my medication, which made no sense to me. And like, if I wasn't in the place I'm in, like somebody would be like, fuck you, I'm gonna go use. You know what I mean? So I know exactly what you're saying with that kind of like ignorance, I guess, with
it
doctors sometimes.
the backlash that I got off. So I just told this story exactly the same way that I told it to you, and I basically said, don't rely on this. You have the power within you to do anything that you want. You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to work. And it's hard, and it's horrible, and it's disgusting, and it's dirty, and it's horrendous. But you can do it. And the people that came into my comments to say, how dare you say this? There's certain people in this world that we have to have medication. Excuse me, you don't know me. Listen, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking about me. I was telling you
Yeah.
that's it. And social media can be really funny like that. Like, I did a TikTok the other day and I said, call your parents. I don't know who needs to hear this, but call your parents. Whatever argument, I said there are some exceptions to the rule of people that should never speak to their parents again. However, people that have a little bickering and rowing and things like that. I lost my dad in one night. One night I went to sleep. When I woke up, he was dead. That's it. And I wish so many things. So everything that I say and do is about bringing awareness. Most of the people on my TikTok know that I've lost my dad. So they
Yeah.
know that when I say something like that, they don't take it into anything other than I'm saying it because I didn't get the opportunity to. Other people that don't come into my comments and have literally been like, this is an ignorant thing for you to tell your fans. It's very irresponsible for you to say this. There was like, yeah. Somebody made a whole stitch about me saying,
Oh my God.
I love this girl's content, but she's very irresponsible for saying this. You shouldn't be saying that. I will never forgive my parents for this, that, and the other. And you know what? If I was to sit here and tell you everything that my parents did to me, and then tell you that I forgave them, you'd be like, how? How did you
Yeah.
do that? But I done that because I deserve it. I deserved to forgive them. And people that are unhealed hear this sentence and they get mad. They get very, very mad. I didn't do anything wrong. Why should I have forgiveness? That's not the point of what I'm saying. You're missing it. I want to. There, as I said, there are exceptions to the rule. There are some people, some parents that do things, and you should never ever communicate with them again. We all know that. But me, your parents is just based on the fact that I don't get to call my dad no more. It's not that penetrative. It's not that
Yeah.
deep. It's not offensive in any way, shape, or form. But some people can just find offense in anything you say, and it's like I can't please everyone. Some people hate,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll come and spread loads of hate, and there's nothing I can do about it. I just don't
Yeah.
respond.
Yeah, exactly. It's just not giving the energy to it. Honestly, it's at the end of the day, it's like for some reason, like they needed to hear that because that's part of their shadow work, honestly. And like in the projection onto you isn't, it's not it's not your shit. So like I think that, and sometimes it takes a lot to like get to that point, but once you like reach that point of understanding that like sometimes you got to bring yourself back when people are really low blows and stuff, but I think that there's like a point where you realize that like people say things because of their own trauma, like
Yeah,
from a
I
place of hurt.
you're unhealed, so there's no point in me replying to you. You're not going to get it. That's fine, and I'm not going to waste my energy. But you have to take the good with the bad. In the same comments, I'll have somebody that says, I called my mum straight after I watched this TikTok and a miracle happened, and I can't thank you enough. And that's all I need. One of those, one comment like that, I'm done.
Exactly. Of course. Yes, because it's like that one making a difference in that one person's life to that extent is that's what makes it all worth it. Yeah. There was another question I had here about glorifying trauma and like like it made that kind of narrative, it makes you stronger, or like it was meant for you kind of thing. What do you what are your thoughts on all that?
You're done. You're But when people in the first year, I couldn't have anybody say to me, everything happens for a reason. The moment somebody said that sentence to me, I would be like, fire. Everything happens for a reason. So you're telling me my dad died for a reason, I couldn't hear it. And then that whole, but it made you the person that you are today. Yeah, no, fuck that. Sorry. No, I don't care. I love the person I am today. If I could choose any version of myself throughout my entire life, it would be the person I am today. And yes, maybe I had to lose my dad to get to the person I am today. Okay. But I would erase it all and I would start from scratch. And even the thought of that makes me want to cry. But
Mm-hmm.
I would start it again if it gave me him back. People that glorify trauma, I think, need to find a reason for everything. They need to bring purpose for everything that they do. Sometimes there is no purpose. Sometimes shit just happens. And sometimes it sucks. Sometimes it's actually just a really bad thing. And I'm really sorry that you went through that. And
Right.
I don't need to bring a reason to it. But hey, but look how happy you are now. No, I'm really sorry that you went through that. People find it hard to just sit in that and don't move. Honor the thing that the person has just said to you, and don't even let them try and make you feel better about it, because we do that. We talk about something
Mm-hmm.
so sad and so heart destroying, and then we try and bring good reason to it so that the person that's sitting in front of us doesn't feel as comfortable as they look, because they look very, very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a nation, we find it very hard to just say, I'm hurt, without,
And
I'm going to fix
hold
it.
space.
I'm going to fix
Right.
it, yeah. This, and I'm going to turn this pain into this, and watch what I'm going to do with this, and all that shit there. Leave it. I'm hurt. That's it. So I hate it glorify my trauma. I hate it when people say, but look who you are today. I know people they think that they're saying something so great, but they're saying something so demeaning to me. You lost your heart, but look who you are today. Oh, thanks. Cheers,
Right. Right.
But I think that it's just, again, a conditioning thing. It's like people don't know how to hold space. You use the exact right words. Hold space. Just
Right.
hold.
And just like be there and then be able to be uncomfortable, because healing is uncomfortable, and it's something that we've been conditioned to kind of be shy away from and not deal with, get over it, not get through it. And I think that it's going to take people speaking up and, you know, being able to disagree about things that have been so accepted, like trying to find a reason for everything, or like trying to make it better even though it's awful, and like just allowing it to be what it is and not trying to sugarcoat it.
Yeah. And just saying, like, what do you need? What can I, instead of
Yeah.
saying, oh, you got this. No, what do you need? What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I help you?
Yeah.
I think that there are some amazing people in this world. I have some amazing people in my life that really understand me now, and understand that when I say certain things, I don't mean that. I mean something else. That if you didn't know me, you get that. And it's such a valuable thing to me to have people that, because my character is very complex. So it's really important to have those, just a few core individuals that get that will come on your door when you haven't spoken for 2 days, that come and try and get you, not in an uncomfortable manner. They come 50%, they don't try and force you, but they come halfway. They try and meet you halfway in a place that you're comfortable in, and they say, what's wrong? What's wrong? Talk to me. What's help you? That kind of thing is, everyone's busy. Everyone's busy, but no one owes you anything at the same time. Everybody's got their own stuff that they're dealing with. Everybody's got their own things that sometimes we can take it so personally when people are not contacting us and stuff like that. But that boils down to your own capability of, you have to always understand that you're first and you're last. You have to become your own best friend. I am my own best friend now.
Yes.
Me, more than anybody in this world, I will be the person that makes me laugh in my head. I'll be the person that outfit looks fire. I'll be the person that, like, yeah, I want to go out tonight. I'll go out on my own if I want to. Like, I do. I'm just like, it's me and me. At the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, it's me and me. It's you and you. So if I was to give anybody the biggest piece of advice I would say to anybody is that you have to make friends with yourself. This has to be a very peaceful place for you to live. My head is crazy, but it's peaceful. It's not the self-destructive, hateful place. I used to listen to myself, talk to myself, and just cry. People would be like, "What are you crying about?" I'd be nothing. I'm not crying about nothing. It's just, whatever. And it's just from the way that it's horrible.
Right. Yeah. And it's like we get into those cycles because I'm actually reading a book right now about like kind of a bunch of different things, but it's by a doctor, and it's about like the brain and how the same pathways kind of get like paved every day, so to speak. And like if you expect yourself to kind of like act a certain way, talk a certain way, like do certain things, and it's also with the self-talk, like creating those new pathways. That's why affirmations are huge. That's why like mirror work is really like made a difference for me personally, because like at first I thought it was silly until I understood the science behind it, and like it actually made sense to me. So like there's so many correlations between like science and spirituality that I like am so into. And so when we do those things to like remind ourselves that like we're gonna go down this path instead today, even though it's a little more like unpaved, like, you know, and that really changes your perspective if you continue to be mindful and do it for yourself. So yeah, I think that's important.
Long is horrible. It's honestly it's one of the hardest things that you will ever choose to do, but it's so worth it. It is really worth it. And there's no end. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this for 1 year and then I'll be great. Actually, no, you probably worse in a year because you've unleashed all these things that you've been burying and that you've hidden for all this time, and it hurts, and you're in so much pain that you now feel like you're depressed, even though you wasn't depressed before. And
Right.
the spiritual awakening is one of the worst parts of the whole thing. And you seem to think when you hear the word spiritual awakening, you think, oh, I'm blessed. I'm so blessed. I get to go for a spiritual awakening. It sounds so pretty, but it's the worst thing in the world. And
Your whole world is turned upside down, and yeah.
so it's just, you got to have patience with yourself, and you have to commit to yourself. If you can't commit to yourself, what can you commit to in this world? You know, you're really important. You have to understand your worth. You have to understand that it's important. It is important, and you are important. And just commit to doing something that contributes towards that journey every single day. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And a behavior pattern comes from doing the same thing every single day. And eventually, the new pattern and the new cycle is, I'm not going to let you treat me like that. You know, all of a sudden, this worth comes in, and it almost comes in overnight. It feels like it's overnight when you actually realize it's there, but actually it was every little jigsaw piece that you took and of that puzzle, and you put piece there, and you've built this mountain all of a sudden, and you don't realize because you're still walking. You haven't looked back. And you think, oh my God, you're just looking at the ground, and you're like, oh my God, I'm not moving. And one day you're just like, you turn around and you're like, wow, I'm so far away, I'm so high up in the sky. And you have to try and stop and remember how far you're going and stuff like that. It's very hard to do, but make yourself the one thing that you will honor and be loyal to in a world that doesn't really know what honor and loyalty is anymore.
100%. Yes, and it's a lot about like that self-awareness and accepting and loving yourself exactly where you're at, and not for like who you're going to be either. Like having goals is great, but acceptance and knowing that like if someone has it, I heard this the other day, if someone, you know, that you love, you want, like for example, like my parents, I would love for them to like have a spiritual awakening and understand to the level that I have. But at the same time, like it's like that is a really, really hard road, you know, like going through the awakening process and having your whole, you know, reality shook and like changed, and you know, your belief systems and evolution is very important. I think it's a huge turning point for like human evolution, but it's not everybody's path, and I think that's also a part of acceptance and like just kind of working on yourself and not being so worried about everybody else too.
I don't think everybody's capable. I think you're chosen for a spiritual awakening. I don't think you're chosen, but it's also the choices that you make every day that bring you there as well. You be a person that could go through a spiritual awakening, but you might not face all the inner work that you want to face to be able to be ready. And when people talk to me about spiritual awakening, they're like, sis, how long does it last for? I've been going through this for 5 years. No, you haven't. Actually, what you've been doing is fighting it for 5 years. I don't accept that. Cool. If it's lasting 5, 6, 7, 8 years, all you've done is started it and rejected it. So now you're stuck in it.
That's what happened to me. That's exactly, you literally just described what happened when I was 17 and went through my first awakening because of like substances and stuff, and I wanted to understand, but I wasn't ready to understand, and it, you know, like I just was, and I wasn't ready to do any of the work because I didn't understand it. It was 10 years ago. It was before all of this. So like, you know, it's a lot different now, and I think that's a huge blessing that like there's a community now for people to go to for questions and stuff, but it all comes down to the work that you're willing to do on yourself. like if you're willing to like take the advice and like
thank
do
you guys
the,
so much
you know,
for
the shadow
joining
work
me and
questions that
Havva
you
for
can get
this
for free
incredible
anywhere online.
conversation, and I'm really excited to be working with her on future endeavors, and hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person. But yeah, I hope you guys have an incredible day, and I'll see you next time on the Spiritual Evolution Podcast.